to Backseat Directing,
where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Aaron.
And we post new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And today, we're doing a draft for the most impactful movie deaths.
3, 2, 1,
action! Now our theme song's running in the background over top of us.
I know the theme song.
That was good. We have a fan. Andrew, we're doing a draft of the most impactful movie deaths, and we're going to get into that. But we have a third person here with us. We have a special guest. A long time coming for this. This is the 53rd episode. And we've been talking about this guy for 52 episodes.
Yeah, we brought him up a bunch of times on the podcast. This is our good friend Keegan. He is a huge fan of movies, TV shows, anime. Watches all kinds of stuff. We always debate who's seen more movies. Keegan's definitely seen at least close to as many movies as me.
More. Definitely more.
He can be credited with having seen more A24 movies for sure, but I'm slowly catching up. I always respect your opinion on movies and TV shows, and you tend to give me good recommendations. So what's some of like the stuff you like to watch so the audience has an idea who you are?
Man, everything, like if it's on Netflix, I've watched it, right? I think a lot of people can say that. My top things, I really like watching TV more than movies.
Ooh, he's a TV guy.
Yeah.
Andrew, what are you?
I usually would always say I'm a TV guy because I pose a lot of the question to people of what would you give up, movies or TV? And I used to be more of a TV guy, but lately I'm a movie guy because of the podcast. I've more so been watching a lot of movies I had to catch up on.
Yeah. We're having this debate with some people that I work with, and I think I'm more of a movie guy. I enjoy movies a lot, but TV shows are sometimes easier to consume.
Yeah.
Because it's only like 40 minutes long, and then there's like a distinct stopping break.
Unless you're watching the first episode of The Last of Us. I was like halfway through it, and I was like, this is like a long TV episode. The first episode's like an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, jeez. That's a movie.
But anyways, that's a good segue because today we're talking exclusively about movie deaths. So any death that occurs in a movie is going to be up for grabs in this draft. We're going to do our usual snake draft format, and Aaron's set up a randomizer for us to decide the order. If you haven't seen our drafts before, Aaron will randomize an order for first, second, and third, and that's the order we'll go in for the draft. Then the third person will pick again. It snakes back to the second, to the first. The first person will pick twice, and so on.
We're drafting a team of 5 most impactful movie deaths. Now, impactful can be however we interpret it. So you can defend your pick however you want to. It could be impactful to the actual story of the movie, or impactful to the other characters in the movie, or even the audience that is watching the movie. How sad was it, or how hurtful was it to the viewers?
And you as the audience are going to choose your definition for impactful too. We always encourage the audience on our drafts, comment on whatever platform you're on. We post on all social media platforms. We post on all podcast platforms, and we post on YouTube as well. So comment and let us know which list was your favorite at the end of this, which picks you thought we might have missed, or which picks were the best picks. I love seeing that.
Yes, definitely vote in the comments. Let us know that Andrew was in last place. Me and Keegan were towards the top here. It's basically just a battle betwing me and you.
I'm going to be the clear-cut winner by the end of this. I'm calling my shot right now.
Let me just reorganize my list to take the ones I know that you guys are going to want.
The car is built, Andrew.
The car is
built. Like, what are you doing? Stop.
Stop the timer.
See, he knows. I like this guy.
He just slid in and made himself a part of the inside joke. I love it.
That's what I do.
That's right.
So this was really, really hard for me to choose from. Before we get into our very first pick, which I think we should do soon, this was so hard. I had 20, and it's so hard to narrow it down to 5 that I really want. Was it hard for you guys? I don't want to get into your thought process just yet. We'll do that afterwards. But how did you guys feel? Did you have 5 you wanted?
There was a few that popped into mind right away without having to like look at a list of movies or other recommendations or something. And I really hope that I get those on my team. But then once I got to like 6 or 7 deaths, then I had to like kind of do some more research. I had to like dive into it a little bit more, you know, so I didn't have a list of like 30 and had trouble narrowing it down to 20 like you said. So
I got to 10 and I was like, man, how many movie deaths really are there, you know? Like,
there's so many. There's so many.
There really is, yeah. It's hard to keep track of. All right, should we see the order?
Yeah, let's find out what we're going to be. I personally would like to be in third to get the first back-to-back picks.
All right, drum roll, please. Got a randomizer on the computer. Here we go. In first place, Andrew.
Oh, man.
I mean, that's second best.
Did I get middle? Oh, man.
In second place, we have Keegan.
Oh, okay.
And in third place, you have myself, Aaron. So I will get the snake draft to finish out that first round, and then we'll travel back up to Keegan and Andrew. So Andrew, you get that first pick. I'm going to go ahead and write down our order here.
Well, Aaron's writing down the order. I've something that we haven't explained yet. If you're watching on video on YouTube, we're all wearing black, and we're dressed up a little bit because we want to show respect to these dearly departed characters.
This is sad. We have to pay our respects for sure. We're getting enjoyment from this, but at the same time, we have to be respectful.
We're also and we're mourning these characters lost today,
Yes.
and so we're picking the ones that made us feel those emotions the most, in a sense. Yeah.
Right. So
there's
we couldn't have done this any other way. Like, we have to be respectful, you know? So with that all said, Andrew, you have 20 options on your list. Who is going number 1 overall? Who has the best 40-yard dash, the highest vertical jump, the most bench presses at 225? Who are you drafting first in our most impactful death draft?
I've had the last minute temptation to switch my second place into first place, and I
love it when he does that and he gets all nervous.
He's so nervous right now.
I do. I get super nervous in these picks, but okay, I think I'm gonna do it.
This is the most important one.
So for my first round draft pick, let's get a short moment of silence, respect for the dearly departed. Going first overall in the draft is going to be Uncle Ben from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. I'm going with the actor where he's portrayed by Cliff Robertson. That incredibly heartfelt loss. I mean, it's how much more impactful do you get than the motivation for Spider-Man? The motivation for with great power comes great responsibility. That is the New York's friendly neighborhood hero. And this is where he gets his need to save people from. This is why he can't hang up the suit. It's because of this death. And this is the original Uncle Ben. He just did it so well. As those tears welling up in Toby's eyes, like I really felt the loss. And there's something about this guy that just feels like your grandpa. You know, he feels like a grandpa to a generation of kids that grew up with this Spider-Man.
Yeah, good, solid first round pick.
Plus, I knew Keegan wanted it.
Yeah,
that's definitely justified as the number 1 overall pick. Rest in peace, Uncle Ben.
I'm gonna have to snipe some of your picks. Like, my list is gonna be based off of what I think you're gonna pick next.
Yeah, make sure he can't see your computer there because he might
cheated already.
He especially if he was changing his pick from number 2, jumping it to that number 1 spot.
Trust me, I know you guys well enough to have an idea of the ones you want, and that is one of the most iconic, I think, movie deaths. Especially in our lifetimes, you know, us growing up in the 2000s. Like,
I mean, like you said, it's impactful to the story, to the characters in the story, and then also to the viewers. So it kind of hits all 3 of those marks that we talked about. It's
as good as anybody pick. for a first pick. I think. Yeah,
I think it's the best first round.
All right, let's not hype it up too much.
We'll see the rest of your list.
It's like an average.
He's trying to pull it back.
Average death.
There's more than one death. All right, we'll get there.
All right, so next up is going to be Keegan. And don't forget, we got to do our moment of silence.
All right.
Don't get too excited now. Oh, you ready to pick?
Yeah, I'm ready to pick.
Okay.
I gave my moment of silence. Did you?
All right, let's moment of silence.
Amen. All right, so All right, I think this option is great. I'm gonna go with Iron Man, Tony Stark, Endgame death. Right? There's 14,605 futures that Doctor Strange sees, and the one that has to be true is where Iron Man dies. I think that's got to be the most impactful death, not only in the MCU, but in movie history. Who's Uncle Ben? Am I right?
You trying to
Like, Uncle Ben dies, sure, that's sad for Peter Parker. Tony Stark dies, that's sad for the entire world, universe, really. So, yeah.
Oh, that was. Oh, I mean that final line you gave was pretty good. I mean, from an argument standpoint, I gotta respect that. But I don't know. I don't know. It's a really good pick.
It's a good pick.
Yeah,
Not only does it have 20 something movies leading up to that point, so you're well invested into the character. We know a bunch of different storylines that have gotten us to that point, and then it's changed the course of the MCU.
Tony Stark changed that one.
It's also the culmination of one of the most perfect castings in movie history, in my opinion, of Robert Downey Jr. parting ways with this role, like the death of the character and the death of our on-screen relationship with him as Iron Man. It's like it's hard to swallow. Like I said, again, especially for our generation, Iron Man came out in 2008. I was 9 years old, so like he's been a huge part of my movie experience as I've grown up.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of ways to tear your pick down still.
It's so impactful that Jon Favreau called the Russo brothers and don't kill Iron Man, and was pleading his case of why they should keep him alive. And
do you know that because you were going to have this on your list of picks, or do you just happen to know that?
I know that because I'm a podcast host.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
And
he's a professional.
I'm a professional,
Okay.
much like yourself.
But were either of these on your top?
Could tell you how I'm thinking. I can't.
Well, they're
tell
gone.
you
They're
who I
gone.
scouted.
They're gone now.
I think
I've
Iron
looked
Man
at all my options. Okay, I'll say that. I've looked at options. Okay, both of those solid pick. All right.
Okay.
So now it's my turn, and I get 2 picks, which this is good, right? I get to see kind of the tone of your team. And now I get to take 2 off the board, and Andrew doesn't get to pick for another, 3 picks?
You're in a power
that's
position
beautiful.
right now.
Yes. You guys definitely took some heavy hitters off the board, but it's my turn now, and I would like to take a moment of silence. And with the 3rd overall draft, I pick Gwen Stacy from Spider-Man 2 because of how much it destroyed my wife. That she will never, ever watch that movie again because of how much that ruined her spirits.
That's actually a running joke with me and Brooke, which Aaron knows this obviously, but I always send her, every time I come across a video of Gwen Stacy's death, I always send it to her, and she's like, I'm gonna block you.
Yeah, it's so rude. That's like if someone's puppy dies and you keep sending them a picture of another puppy.
That's a little more extreme.
No, she was invested, man. She loved the connection that her and Spider-Man had, and
it was very real.
He should have saved her. He should have been there. And so,
did she know that he was gonna?
That's what I was gonna say next. Okay. To people who haven't read the comics, this death was very shocking, right? Now, there's a lot of people who have read the comics and kind of expected this to happen eventually.
Yeah.
At this time, when this movie came out, Brooke and I didn't really know much about the comics at all. So we were both really surprised when it happened, more so her, to where she absolutely despises that movie and will not watch it again.
I mean, the performance from Andrew Garfield in that scene is so good because I watched it on when I was on my way over here, or before I was on my way over here. I watched it, and it's like, oh my god, it slices right through you. He's like sputtering and speaking through these tears. It's so emotional. He's one of the best actors around. It's a really good scene. And we've got 2 Spider-Man scenes on here now.
It's got to be the best scene in that movie. And I love how they did the slow motion. I love how they shot both of the Amazing Spider-Man.
It's amazing.
Well,
the slow motion, the sound,
gears, they're turning.
Yeah.
He's
and the web kind of has hands and fingers kind of reaching out and grabs her, but just a half a second too late.
The sound design of like the Foley work they use for when she hits the ground. It is like and then just silence. It cuts through you so deep. Like the thud of her hitting the ground is just like your hand shoots up to your mouth. You gasp. Like it's felt so strongly.
When I saw that, I almost didn't believe that she was dead. I thought he saved her.
Me too.
Yeah.
Until it like went silent,
and then he's just sitting with her. Oh my god.
We have to get to Aaron's next pick. Come on. Okay. Let's get a moment of silence for your next pick.
Okay.
Going fourth overall, I'm gonna pick Jack from Titanic. What was that all about over there?
I'm just gonna start thinking about Jack names right now.
Nothing. I didn't want Jack from Titanic. I thought you said something else besides Jack.
He's next on my list. So, wow.
So Jack's
iconic. I wasn't gonna pick it, but it's iconic.
I wasn't gonna pick it because it's not a good pick. Thank you, Keegan. I'm glad to have you here.
Something I should be ashamed to admit is that I haven't seen the Titanic, so that is a big part of why I wasn't gonna pick it. I know that he dies.
I think soon. I don't think it's out yet.
Are they gonna make a sequel?
They have a Titanic 2. There's a Titanic 2
kidding?
out there. I was researching this and I saw a little thing on Google and I was like, Titanic 2? How did this happen? How did they mess up that bad again?
But anyways, so my first one is more of a pick based off of emotion for the audience. And this one is more of a impact on a kind of a culture, a generation. It's something that's argued about all the time. This movie came out so long ago.
Well, that's a question for you guys. Could he fit on the
Exactly.
Door? Could he fit?
He could fit.
So iconic.
I'm pretty sure it's been confirmed he could fit.
I feel like he can fit. Now, James Cameron apparently had people go out and test this with like the actual like door and stuff, and that they couldn't get them to fit. I want to see video of that because he shouldn't have died.
Well, it's with the weight, right? Maybe that is like if he's heavier, it's going to tip the door over and they can't both be on it.
Lay on her.
Yeah,
keep her warm. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
Or like you lay on the bottom and you get a little bit of water touching you, and she's on top. I don't know. But that's why it's so impactful, right? He shouldn't have died, but he did.
I think it's surprising that like anybody made it out of that. The freezing cold temperature, like.
And in the time period too, it's like how quickly. I guess they probably sent out Maydays or whatever on.
Yeah, but like how long were they sitting on that door? You know, like.
Plus the people in the lifeboats, they had. I mean, but the people who went in the water for sure. It's like hypothermia and all that like blows my mind. Like when people go underneath ice in a movie, I'm like I'd be done. And they're like punching up. I'm like I would just be.
And that's
done for.
That's another aspect to this death is that it's so real. All of our other picks up until this one is a comic book. It's make believe.
Yeah.
But this is something that like actually happened. Maybe not this story exactly, but people actually went through this.
Yeah.
So it's very emotional to the people watching this.
And there's a generation of people, I mean, even myself included at one point, that literally thought this was a true story of Jack and Rose.
Right.
That is a testament to how believable it is. But we have to move on to Keegan's second pick. We're snaking back to the 2 spot. So I will offer a moment of silence for your second pick if you're ready to decide.
Man, there's a lot of choices, but I think I'm gonna go with Mufasa from.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I'm breathing a sigh of relief because my pick's still on the board.
Yeah, I figured, but
probably not that good of a pick then.
With being seconds, you gotta be a little bit more strategic, So Mufasa, just that whole scene is crazy. I was rewatching it just to get that feeling yesterday. Oh my god, like. He's trying to save Simba, right? And he gets Simba out of the way, and he's climbing up to try to live. And then Scar doesn't save him. His brother.
Yeah, unparalleled betrayal.
The biggest betrayal. And then, just the scene of Simba walking up to Mufasa and he's dead. You're like, no way. This is so sad. Then Simba curls up with him. It's
Ugh.
like I want to cry thinking about it right now, honestly.
Yeah. And there's so many moments where I thought he was going to live too, because you think
Right.
the fall will take him out, and then he's in the bottom of the canyon, and there was a horde of wildebeests or something.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, if he survived the fall,
Yeah.
he can survive. And he just, when he finally doesn't make it, it's
This has to be one of, if not the first on-screen movie death that I've seen.
a lot of us experience, right?
Yeah,
Like
no,
that.
like-
And I was going to say
That's
another one, but
the
never mind.
impact.
Very impactful. Yeah, this is a great pick.
It's crushing, yeah.
Great
And
job.
Who does the voice work? It's the same guy who does the voice for Darth Vader.
Yeah. Wow,
it's
this
gonna
is so
kill me.
disrespectful.
I know.
We
He's
should
so
just be able
iconic.
to
Yeah.
split second. But then it leads to Simba having to leave because he feels the
James
guilt.
Earl Jones.
Yeah, James Earl Jones. He feels the guilt.
So it affects the rest of the movie also, and
Yeah.
affects all of the the Pride Land, like the loss of like their king, and he's such a beloved, respected character.
It makes
in that world.
Simba the king
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
point. So young of
Well,
an age.
and Scar actually ends up taking over before Simba can come back and reclaim that title.
Right, that's
so
right.
it lays waste to the valley, and he was that guy, another guy that's kind of like a movie dad that like taught us all a lesson. Like he's teaching us about nature and the circle of life, and that everything has value. Like he's definitely one of those characters that like you put up on a pedestal.
Yeah, very strong pick, Keegan.
Thank you.
Andrew, for your second pick, a moment of silence.
I'm not even going to hesitate for this one. I'm so glad it's still around for me to pick. I'm going to go with Sam, the German Shepherd from I Am Legend.
That's a good
Okay,
pick.
yeah, that's good.
Wow, I didn't even think of that.
I think pretty much all my picks might not be on your guys' list because maybe they're a little bit more personal to me, and that's the reason why. But
Nothing wrong with that.
just
That makes
Impactful.
a good list. Yeah. I feel like out of all of our drafts, this is the one that can be the most personal.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. But the scene. So again, I'll give the actor. The dogs who portrayed Sam were named Abby and Kona. They did a phenomenal job. But it's really Will Smith that has this scene as the most impactful scene in my book. They do this long hold on his face where he has to kill not only his best friend, his only connection to his daughter, and the only companion he has in the whole world. Because he goes out every day broadcasting in this movie, just looking for some sign of humanity, looking for some sign he's not the only one left. And the only companionship he has, he now has to be the one to put her down, or put him down. And it's so incredibly, overwhelmingly emotional. This long hold they have on his face where these tears well up, and he just acts the hell out of this scene.
Something too about him holding and saying, Samantha, and then you realize like, oh, it's a girl dog.
It's like
And
him
it's like,
reliving
oh, man.
the death of his daughter.
Yeah.
Because the dog was his daughter's.
Right.
And his daughter now having passed away is the only connection he has to her. He spends every day with the dog. It's the only person that he
The
has
only
to talk
connection
to.
he has to normalcy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the slow way that the transformation occurs, because in the scene he pulls back her eyelid to look for signs that it's spreading. He pulls up her lip to see it spreading in her kind of teeth and her gums, and then like that first moment where she snaps and lunges at him is like so heartbreaking that she's fully turned and she would kill him, who she loves so much. And it's obviously the fact that he had to kill her himself is so sad. But we can't dwell on this one too long because we can't have any tears flowing right now. So
Nothing wrong with crying, Andrew.
we got to focus on the mission at
And then
hand.
cry.
All right, Andrew, for your third pick,
I'm
a
gonna be
moment of
honest.
silence.
I totally forgot that I had
I thought
back-to-back picks.
We could total Keegan for your third pick.
Let's get back to my moment of silence while I make sure I'm ready for
You
this
gotta be
pick.
respectful about this.
I am going to take my third pick as Jack, the youngest brother from four brothers.
Oh, that's a good pick.
So this is why my jaw dropped when you picked Jack from Titanic, because obviously I have Jack on my list of 20 as well. But I didn't want to pick him because like I said, I haven't seen the Titanic. But for whatever reason, I thought you were picking my pick, Jack from Four Brothers, and I was ready to be devastated. But this movie death is so emotional. It's the youngest and most innocent of their family. Have you guys seen this movie?
Yeah.
a long time ago. I don't honestly remember.
He's the little brother. He's the one that they all take under their wing. And in movies, all too often, that most innocent person is the one that they decide to kill because they know that it's going to hurt the audience the most.
Yeah.
And in this movie, the thing that hurts is how unexpected it is, I think, because somebody throws a snowball at him and he chases him out into the street and all of a sudden turns around and shoots him right above the shoulder. And then a big gunfight erupts, and the loss too is so felt for the other three brothers because they've just lost their adopted mother recently in the plot of this movie, and then to lose their younger brother who they all felt like they were meant to protect, plus the revenge story that comes afterwards. It's a very impactful death for me.
Solid pick.
Yeah.
If you guys have listened this far, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Head over to our YouTube channel and hit subscribe. That helps out the show a lot. And also on Spotify. Man, we have 6 listeners on Spotify.
We're doing a little bit better lately.
Okay.
But
yeah, we want to get those numbers up a little bit, but it seems like most of our audience watches the videos, which is honestly how I consume podcasts. So either way, thanks for the support. We really appreciate it. Let's get back to our most impactful movie deaths, going with Keegan and his third pick.
And if you're ready,
Silence, boys.
there we go.
All right. With my third pick, this may or may not be influenced by who I think Andrew's going to pick. I wanted this person on my list, but I'm going with her as number 3, Tracy Mills from Seven. This is a crazy death. This person, the reason it's so impactful is because it just changes the course of the movie, right? What's in the box? That's an iconic line, right? You see Morgan Freeman open this box. He doesn't know what's going to be in it. Then he opens it, and Brad Pitt's character looks back at him and he's like, "What's in the box?" And leading up to this, the main villain is trying to test Brad Pitt to see how far he'll go, how he can break him, right? And then when he finds out what's in that box, it's over.
It turns the good guy into the bad guy at the end there.
It makes it a story where the villain wins, definitely. And I think that while I respect that pick a ton,
he's playing it cool over there. He's got the suit on. He's playing it real cool right now.
You didn't get me because that was not on my list contention at all.
Sure.
Not on your list at all.
No, it's because
he likes to do that. He said, "Oh, I got his pick." He's
I saw him deleting the pick over there. He was messing around.
So the reason why it's not on my list is because I am not a fan of Gwyneth Paltrow, and I was not very invested in her character in that movie. More so invested in what happened with the reaction of Detective Mills than in her actual death. So that's why it was not on my list.
So you would say that the impact of her death changed the course of the movie, right?
I mean, I would agree with
Most impactful death.
It's also very, very surprising. It's a shock.
It's a good pick for sure.
If you don't have it spoiled for you, it's a huge shock. And
spoilers.
And it's.
I guess we should have said that. It's
I thought
potential
that
for spoilers of any movie. So if you haven't seen a movie, don't watch.
But it's so obvious that it's spoilers that it doesn't need to be said because it's movie deaths. But all the more impactful too because she was pregnant.
Yeah.
So the death of his unborn child, it's very, very emotional death.
Isn't that something Morgan Freeman's keeping from Brad Pitt?
Yeah, she asked him not to tell him. She was looking for advice.
God, that's just such a painful...
So he finds out from John Doe, the murderer, that his wife was pregnant when she was murdered.
I'm not necessarily sad that she died for her character. I'm sad for Brad Pitt's character mostly,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There was very much a cause and effect from that death. And you see it unfold very quickly as well. Good... solid third round pick.
Thank you.
And now we move on to my good friend Aaron with his third and fourth picks. We'll take a brief moment of silence for his third choice.
With my third pick, I have a few options here. I feel like there's a lot of stuff still on the table, which is good. And I got 2 picks right now, which is also good. So I'm kind of looking through my list and I want to see where I'm going here. And I think I'm going to have to lock in the Black Panther. Not only did he pass away in the story, but he also passed away in real life.
Oh, you're gonna pull on those strings, huh?
Which makes this death really like close to home, you know, and makes it almost hard to watch.
It's a huge plot point of the entire movie, and it's the loss is felt in, like you said, in real life, and it's felt throughout the entirety of the plot of the movie, which is rare because usually the death of a character won't occur.
It changed the whole MCU.
Yeah,
you know, like there was a lot of things that they wanted to still explore with the character Black Panther, and they had to do a complete 180. And then not only that is the actor's no longer with us.
The funny thing about this choice, though, I will tell the audience.
Interesting choice of words.
The strange thing about this choice, is that when I was talking about the concept of this list, I was like, can we pick characters whose deaths don't happen on screen? And Aaron said yes, but it would be less impactful if the character's death wasn't on screen, which is the case with this movie.
However, I still think this kind of hits all the beats that we've been talking about this whole time.
I'm just using your own argument against you.
Yes, kinda, but I said it could be less impactful, right? And I think this one is very impactful to the viewers, to his actual family and friends and fans, and to the whole course of the MCU after that. Like, there's a lot of things that happened. This death was very impactful in real life and in the movies. So I'm honestly surprised we didn't pick this higher. You know, like this is real, you know? And yeah, like it didn't happen on screen, but for a very obvious reason of why, you know? But let's move on to my fourth pick.
Brief moment of silence.
Okay, I'm looking at my list here. I feel like we're getting into the tougher picks. You know, I have to decide like what I want on my team here. I'm gonna go with, man, this might be a little bit of recency biased, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that'll get me some votes because it's fresh in people's mind. I'm gonna go with Goose from Top Gun.
It's funny that you would say recency bias for a movie that came out in like 1985.
I was thinking about that.
Top Gun Maverick came out less than a year ago, and his death in the first Top Gun was the whole theme of the second movie, Top Gun Maverick. You know, without him dying, Top Gun Maverick wouldn't have had that same story arc, you know, of having his son in there and the emotional beats of trying to keep him from the same fate that happened to his father, you know, by delaying his school, by maybe not picking him for the mission, which he ends up picking him, and then they crash and they get stranded together. And throughout the whole movie, you didn't know like what was going to happen. When I was watching this, I was like, wow, like they could totally let Tom Cruise die here.
He was gonna die.
Yeah, like they have no reason to make a third one. They have no reason to keep him alive, you know. So like just the emotional weight.
I think it's interesting that you're basically only describing Top Gun Maverick when the death is in Top Gun. I mean, it's emotional in Top Gun.
Well, that's why it's so impactful. That like it happened, but it had the direct effect to the next movie. Like a lot of times when someone passes away, the next movie barely brushes upon it, but it was like a stable part of the whole next movie.
I think it's worth
showing that when he died, like 20 years later, it still weighed on Tom Cruise's character so heavily that it impacted his almost everyday actions and moves.
Yeah. I think that the original movie is very worth discussing in this conversation because he basically loses his brother and feels like it's his fault. And then the emotionality of him holding him in the water.
That's where I was going to go next.
Yeah, when
like the actual scene itself.
The guy comes up to him and he's like, "Sir, you have to let go. You have to let go." He doesn't want to let go of his brother. I mean, it's so... And then having to face his wife afterwards, who he's close friends with. He knows he has a son. Like, I'm sure he would trade places with him in a second. And that's what is so sad about it. And otherwise completely like 80s action, macho, you know, danger zone movie. Like,
and Maverick feels responsible for his death as well, which as an audience member watching that, I felt the pain that he was going through, watching his brother die in his arms because of maybe a mistake that he made,
Yeah, and it completely changed, for that period of the movie, completely changed his confidence and changed who he was, because
Right.
he is Maverick, and
Right.
it took that part out of him, feeling like his recklessness might have been what killed probably the most important thing in the world to him at that point in the movie, because we're not shown any other real character relationships besides his love interest.
Right.
But with that said, we still have one, two, three,
5.
4, 5 more picks on the board.
Yes, sir.
So let's head back to Keegan, snake back to him for his 4th pick, and a
All right.
moment of silence for that pick.
All right, with my 4th pick, I'm gonna go with Han Solo in The Force Awakens.
That's a really good pick.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and man, this one hurts because Han Solo was a huge part of the Star Wars universe. Like, you could say he's the heart and soul of the original movies. We have Luke and everybody else, but Han Solo and Chewie, man, you watch those movies and you're like, these are great. And in The Force Awakens specifically, it's a huge factor in Kylo Ren really cutting himself off from the light. That's his test. He believes that's gonna, prove himself. And what ends up happening is it doesn't. It only brings him more stress. And then in the last movie, it's what brings him back to the light. Him forgiving himself for, killing his dad. That helps him come back and end up saving Rey, which, she's now the new Skywalker, right? So it's the rise of Skywalker. So yeah.
I think that is one of the big movie deaths, like, in the most, in like the recent 10 years. I was absolutely shocked when the lightsaber just pierced through Han Solo. Yeah, I didn't expect that Kylo Ren was going to kill him at that moment, even though they kind of build up like he's going to with, what's the line? He's like, I don't know if I have the strength to do what I have to do next. Like, and like you said, it affects the rest of the 3 movies because it's all a part of Kylo Ren's arc. Yeah, it's super emotional. It's not something I would put in the top contention for my top 10, but I respect it as a choice.
I think I'd have to actually agree with Andrew on that one.
Yeah.
I see the points of how that it was impactful, it was emotional, it's decades in the making, right? And then it directly impacts 2 other movies. But it wasn't that surprising. Like, I feel like it was coming, Like, I think it would have been more impactful if it happened in an earlier film.
Original trilogy.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you kind of felt like Harrison Ford's time was done in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
See, I've never, and this is gonna be crazy, but I've never been the hugest fan of Han Solo, and it's because I didn't grow up with him being like the coolest guy ever. But yeah. I feel like his character has been done in other movies and done better. And I think Indiana Jones is a superior role for Harrison Ford. So like, that's not a character like my favorite character in Force Awakens was Finn. Like, I would have been crushed if Finn died.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
I'm not butthurt.
Whatever.
Sorry to.
Han Solo's death, no biggie. Like.
All right, Andrew. You get to finalize your team here. You have your 4th and 5th pick. What are you going to choose?
These are the hardest 2 choices because you guys haven't taken anything off the board of my top 10. You've taken things off the board of my top 20, but you haven't helped me narrow this down at all. So now I just have to like pick. And the thing I'm debating between is like my personal ones I would pick, or what I think might please an audience to get me like some votes for the draft.
From like an Oscar-winning movie that like 10 people have seen.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna pick something from like Atonement.
No, there is a Death and Atonement, but no, I'm not going. No. I'm not going to. I think I'm just gonna go with what's like personal for me.
All right.
Hope that
always a risky gamble in a draft. However, like, it's really hard to go against. Against that.
I'm gonna hope that people resonate with it.
Yeah.
Just off.
If you're confident in your team, the people will see that.
I'm not confident because I don't trust people to have the same opinions as me.
Here we go.
But I'm gonna go with what's close to my heart.
Right,
so moment of silence for my next pick. for my fourth pick for the draft of most impactful movie deaths.
Another moment of silence.
I'm
please.
gonna go with Maureen Hope from the movie Southpaw.
I thought about that one. That wasn't on my list. I'll let you go. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You talk whenever you want. But I think that when I watched this scene, I cried. I watched it in theaters, and I think that is a big factor for an impactful movie death. And like we talked about, if this movie, if you haven't seen it, you can skip this part if you don't want to spoil it, but I'm going to explain.
Fantastic movie.
Billy Hope is played by Jake Gyllenhaal, and he is married to Maureen Hope, his wife, played by Rachel McAdams. And Billy Hope is like a huge big-time boxer, and him and his wife met when they were kids in an orphanage. And they were like the only two people each other had in the world to lean on. And Billy, as he gets older, I think more and more so, he sees Maureen as like the only good left in him. He sees her as like the embodiment of the light in himself. And there's like this chaotic scene where she ends up getting shot, and he's holding his wife dying in his arms, like holding what he sees as like the best part of himself, and the mother to his child, and everything to him in the world is his family, because he's somebody who, even though he has all this wealth and success as a professional boxer, he always remembers where he came from, his childhood of growing up as an orphan, and so he values family over everything. And to lose his like last piece of like true light in his life is so emotional, and the acting in the scene by both parties is so phenomenal. As Rachel McAdams is just saying, I want to go home, and
Stop it.
He's like, baby, baby, baby.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's like, baby. Oh my God.
You can feel the love in that scene. It's crazy.
It feels so real. Even their relationship, the whole movie, incredible chemistry. The same thing as Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, I feel like. So these two pairs, like when they're cradling the woman they love and she's dying, it's like, and me too. You know, I have Sierra, who I love. Like that kind of stuff, when it ties back to that for me, it's all the more emotional.
Those deaths always are the hardest for me to watch, when the significant other is the one who passes away. Because I always put myself in their position, and I never ever want to be in that position, you know. And you can't help but just feel what they're feeling at that time, especially if you have a significant other of your own, you know. So that was a good pick. I tend to like block those things from my memory, so I didn't even like have that on my list, you know. But that's a solid pick for sure.
It's trending on Netflix right now. They just added it.
You should watch it if you haven't seen it. To anybody now,
we should do a movie review on that.
Yeah, I would love
Southpaw?
to.
I would too.
It's directed by Antoine Fuqua, and I might say, I don't know if I can say it's his best movie because Training Day, but it's up there. Like,
yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, I love that movie. We should definitely do a movie review.
That death is what makes that movie work, because I cry like 2 more times in that movie because of the daughter. Her acting is so good. Yeah. And like the loss of her mother and her dad just kind of spiraling out from that, because that was his like rock, that his foundation was Maureen Hope. So it's felt throughout the whole rest of the movie, and it just guts you as an audience member. But we have to move on. It can't all be about my list.
Your final pick of your team, Andrew. Your 5th pick, A Moment of Silence.
Okay, so I think I have an animated pick that the audience would resonate with more, but I'm going to go with the one that gets me the most. I'm going to go with Tadashi from Big Hero 6 for my last pick. Tadashi is somebody who I feel like is like Mufasa, is like somebody everybody loves and respects. And so like I put him up on this pedestal when I started watching the movie. I'm like, this is the greatest guy ever. He's such a good big brother. Like everything he says is so positive. Like even when he's like chastising his little brother, he's like kind of positive and his love is always there at the forefront of anything. Like his love for his brother is always at the front of his like motivations, and I just love him so much. He's also like a super genius, so it's like what can this guy do wrong? Like he's super smart, he's a great brother, a family member, he's got great morals, he's trying to save the world with Baymax, trying to do something that can heal people. And then the connection to Baymax throughout the rest of the movie, from Hero to Baymax to Tadashi, is like keeps Tadashi in the rest of the movie. And then like those flashback scenes at the end always get me, or the videos of Tadashi, like with all his trials of trying to create Baymax and all the effort he put into him, is like
it was
piece
surprising
of him too.
Yeah. Didn't see it coming, you know.
Yeah, exactly. The death, the explosion. I was like, well, and they kill him in the
I
first,
feel like that's always
the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie. So it's,
I feel like that's what makes these kind of deaths really impactful is when you don't see them coming.
What I hold this in contention for is that I would still, and I only put it at 5 because I didn't think either of you were going to take it, but I still contend this in my top 5 movie deaths with him only being in the movie for 15 or 20 minutes. So that's why I hold it in really high regard, and I absolutely love this character.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought he would be on your list, and it wasn't even my idea. I did some collusion with Sierra.
She told me. I was very betrayed, by the way. When I got home,
God.
and she was like, I heard you guys are doing a movie podcast.
This was before
on
he
Impactful
had his
Death.
list. She didn't tell me what was on
And I said, oh, did you like, and she's like, me and Keegan were like looking up ideas, and I was like, oh, so you're helping my enemy? Very betrayed.
Oh,
Yeah.
So you had some inside knowledge going into today, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I
Meeting
didn't
them
know
at
if
the
he was gonna
source.
pull up Tadashi.
Man, that's good.
That
That's
is
good.
pretty sad.
That's good. All right, Keegan, let's wrap up your team with your 5th place pick.
2 picks left on the board. Steal something from Aaron.
A moment of
I'm
silence.
ready. All right. For this pick, I'm going to go with something that's, I think is a little more personal based off of like everything we've talked about today. I'm going to go with Sirius Black in the Order of the Phoenix. This could be recency bias too because I just rewatched all the Harry Potter movies, but man, when he dies in that movie, it's so sad, right? Like the fight leading up to his death is great. It's, him fighting alongside Harry. And there's a moment where he goes, "Nice one, James." And you're like, oh.
Oh my God, because it's his dad's name.
Yeah, nice one, James. And then a few moments later, he's dead. Harry's last connection to his real family, someone that he views as a father figure now. Someone he didn't know about until recently. Now he's ripped out of his life, right? Now Harry doesn't have family. Like, you could consider the Weasleys his family, but at that time, Harry feels at the most alone in his life, I believe.
Because Sirius was his godfather.
Mm-hmm. And, that leads to one of my favorite fights in the Harry Potter series. Dumbledore versus Voldemort.
Yeah,
that fight is amazing.
2 masterclass wizards, too. I think that it's Bellatrix Lestrange who kills him, right? With the Avada Kedavra.
Yeah.
Gets Sirius.
That leads to Harry going after her. She's like, I killed Sirius Black. It's terrifying. And Harry gets
Helena Bonham Carter is so good. And then Gary Oldman as Sirius is like why that is so good because he's such a phenomenal
his
actor.
performance as Sirius Black is incredible. I love it so much. And
it feels like Harry has a father again, like you said. Like he's somebody who's like has Harry's best interests at heart. Like, and he too feels like this is like a son to me.
Yeah, they were supposed to live together and they never got to.
That was a really good pick. I respect it a lot.
Strong, yes. All right, so I guess my turn to wrap up my team, huh?
Keegan has so many fandoms in his pick. He's got Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, and Harry Potter.
I tried to be diverse,
Yeah, that's good.
I'm trying to win
a
here,
lot of
guys.
universes that you pulled from.
All right, kind of like what Andrew was saying when he was picking his last few picks, that I still have a lot on the board here. I have a lot of options to pick from, and like you said, we didn't help you narrow down your picks, and kind of the same here, but I think there's one that's sneaking up to the top that I'm going to have to go with. So join me in a moment of silence. In the 15th overall pick, the last pick of our draft, last but not least, I pick Ellie from Up.
That is the one that I was trying to hint at when I said one that the audience would resonate more, but wasn't. So that movie is like when I rewatch it with Sierra, she is like, okay, well, we're not going to watch the first 5 minutes of Up because she's like, we just don't rewatch that. It is incredibly emotional. The music that plays is a big part of it.
You get to see them like growing up together.
Yeah. I always say adventure is out there. Even to this day, I still say that just because I like her turn of phrase.
And again, it's that significant other that it always gets me,
And also the pure tragedy and the truth of the fact that in old age we lose one loses to the other. Like that's such a true reality. And me lately, like working in the hospital, I see it. It's just such a sad thing to outlive your partner, and one of the two usually has to.
Yeah. yeah, it again, probably one of the first few deaths that a lot of people saw on screen. Maybe not for us because it came out a little bit later. But yeah, very emotional, very emotional. So that kind of wraps up our teams. So let's go ahead, starting with Andrew and then Keegan, then I'll finish. Let's say our teams. And then afterwards, we can kind of talk about what we liked about our teams, each other's teams, and then maybe some honorable mentions.
Sure. Okay, so for my top 5 impactful movie deaths, I have
Not for your team, because you're not top 5, right? Like, we're drafting them.
Yes, yeah. For my roster of 5 movie deaths, I picked Uncle Ben from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, Sam, the German Shepherd from I Am Legend, Jack, the youngest brother from Four Brothers, Maureen Hope from Southpaw, and Tadashi from Big Hero 6.
Keegan.
On my list, I got Iron Man, Mufasa, Tracy Mills, Han Solo, and Sirius Black.
And on my team, I have Gwen Stacy from Spider-Man 2, Jack from Titanic, Black Panther, Goose from Top Gun, and Ellie from Up. So that's our teams. Keegan, how do you feel about your team?
All right, I think I'm the winner still. I think you guys might have put a little disrespect on Han Solo. I don't know. I think I won.
Yeah, maybe other people agree with you more than we do. Andrew, how do you feel about your team?
I feel really good. I feel like there's some people, me and I guess inherently all 3 of us, kind of snubbed that I want to talk about. Some big picks that I feel like are still on the board that none of us mentioned. Do you want to hear those now?
Yeah.
So I think that we definitely missed the Iron Giant, and I can't believe it was hard not to pick. We missed Wolverine from Logan, which I really wanted to fit on my list also, and felt like one that would resonate with audiences as well.
I have that one listed here.
Those are 2 of the biggest ones that I felt. I mean, you could pick a ton from Harry Potter too. I mean, Dobby and Dumbledore come to mind as picks that I feel like we kind of missed. And I was looking at deaths in the movie 300 shortly before coming over here as well, and I feel like there's a lot. I could pick like 5 from that one movie. Bing Bong from Inside Out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking you were gonna pick.
Yeah. Bubba and Jenny from Forrest Gump are ones that I feel like are definitely in contention.
I'm curious, did either of you guys have the kid from The Boy in the Striped Pajamas on there?
No, I haven't seen that movie.
Oh,
but then
sorry,
also
spoiler alert.
No, I knew about that. I knew about that already. But then Bubba from Forrest Gump, Jenny from Forrest Gump, the girl from Bridge to Terabithia, the boy from My Girl.
I feel like Sierra helped him with this list too,
right?
Because she said all this stuff to me before.
I have a few as well that you haven't mentioned either.
Darth Vader.
Yep,
yeah,
that was a good one.
I thought you were gonna take Darth Vader too, because I know you're a big Star Wars fan.
I'm not that big of a Star Wars. I enjoy it.
No?
I'm not like.
My mistake. I thought.
He just baited you into saying you don't like Star Wars to hurt your
If you don't like
chances.
Star Wars, that's fine.
Andrew is probably the least Star Wars fan out of all 3 of us.
I guess I'm the biggest Star Wars fan out of all of us. Okay, that's cool.
All right, some other deaths. We have Spider-Man from Infinity War. If he didn't die, I feel like it gave Tony that extra bit of motivation to actually execute that plan
that whole
to bring everyone
scene.
back.
Everybody.
That I feel like was more
Ash.
emotional, possibly even than the Iron Man death for me, because the acting in that scene I think is a little more, and writing is a little bit more intense.
Yeah.
But also Spider-Man from Into the Spider-Verse is one I didn't want to have a third Spider-Man pick on there.
Right.
But I wanted to pick that one too.
Yeah.
Because then the music they play after that, I think the song's called "Scared of the Dark" at the Spider-Man Memorial. Oh my goodness.
Sticking with the MCU, Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow.
That's good.
That's in the fight.
Self-sacrifice.
Them fighting
Yep.
to see which one of them will sacrifice for the other. So emotional.
I have another honorable mention. Superman in Superman vs. Batman. I feel like this was impactful because it basically wrote in stone that the DCU is going to suck.
I thought
because they killed the main character in his second movie when they're trying to start a huge franchise.
I mean, but the thing is, I thought about this one briefly because it's an iconic comic book death, The death of Superman is an iconic arc in comics, and the scene itself is really emotional, where he's like driving the kryptonite spear into Doomsday to sacrifice himself for the world, basically. But I couldn't pick it because the movie overall dampens that by sucking.
Yeah.
Like,
well, they picked a storyline and picked up with it in its second movie. Like the people that don't know much about comics don't know the rest of this like story arc, you know, of the death of Superman. Like, and they didn't do a good job of like explaining it all, you know. So like, yeah, that's why I didn't pick it either. But I feel like I wanted to mention it because it was like, this is why this sucks. Because why didn't they do this like the fifth movie, the sixth movie, you know? Like, Keegan, do you have any honorable mentions you want to bring? Oh, Bambi's mother.
Yeah, that was on my list.
Okay.
There was another thing. Like, I wanted to make sure I had a few different like picks, so I was probably only going to go with one animated death, but
Yeah.
it would have been either that, Bing Bong, or Bambi's mom.
or
I think those are the big ones, or from Up to.
Noah and Allie from The Notebook. That was.
What about
I also just thought of Noak, or no, not Noak, the older brother in Avatar 2, Way of the Water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think
That's a
Loak
recent
is the
one.
younger brother.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be huge for the upcoming movies.
Marley from Marley and Me.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
Marley, man. He said the dog
Sam.
from I Am Legend.
Yeah.
So then I was like, I can't do Marley and Me. Like,
Yeah.
it's not sadder than that dead.
Right. It's
What-
not.
what-
I think it's a little more real, which
Yeah,
brings
definitely,
that
of course.
aspect.
Yeah.
I think you're definitely right. It is more real. What about
Hey, zombies, they're gonna happen, man.
what about the Terminator in Terminator 2? I mean, that's a pretty.
That's a
It's a
good
self-sacrifice. It's and then one of the most iconic scenes because James Cameron's Terminator 2 is like one of the biggest action movies ever.
Oh, I have another one. Maggie for $1 Million Baby.
Yeah,
That one's just straight depressing.
another movie I haven't seen, but I know end result.
All right, so that wraps up our most impactful movie deaths draft. We each have 5 members on our team, and for the most part, we all got who we wanted. So now it's kind of up to the people to decide the winner. So we hope that everyone listening kind of votes in the comments of whose team you like the most. Keegan hopes that you vote for him. If you vote for him, it might make him feel good, and he'll come back for another episode. So
Yeah.
Just remember that my picks were the most diverse,
what?
the most personal.
The most
The
first.
most unknown, the
Andrew-
least relatable.
Andrew's a film bro. He picked the ones that you wouldn't expect.
None of these are all like blockbuster movies. Every one of them. These are all like summer release movies.
All right, before we all start fist fighting, let's sign off, and we'll leave the fight to the mystery of happening off camera.
Yeah.
So, Keegan, thanks so much for coming and joining us. Welcome to the studio. We hope to have you back. I had fun. I hope you had fun.
I had a lot of fun.
You had a great
This
show.
is great.
You had a great showing.
This is my first
You're a great
podcast
team.
ever. I think
Yeah,
I couldn't have had a better experience.
there we go. And I love having a tag team partner to beat up on Andrew because
It does
he's
take-
hard to fight with and
does
argue
take-
with. So it's good to have a partner in crime
I
too.
will
gonna say
say
takes
it
two
does
to
take at
take
least
him
2 people to go against me. At
Yeah.
least 2.
But thanks for joining us, and that's a wrap.